The Vatican's secret billion-dollar real estate empire, an institution that claims to represent poverty and humility, just lost over $200 million on a single London property deal. Yes, and the twist nobody talks about is that they're not hiding this wealth in secret bank accounts like typical billionaires. They're doing it in plain sight through luxury real estate, stock portfolios, museums that charge admission, and financial institutions so opaque that even Catholic bishops don't fully understand where the money actually goes. Meet the Vatican, officially a nation-state of 800 people, unofficially a financial powerhouse that makes most multinational corporations look pedestrian. If the church is supposed to be of the people, who exactly is the money for? Empire nobody talks about. Let's establish the numbers first, because they matter. The global patrimony of the Catholic Church is estimated to reach over $3 trillion in real estate alone. According to experts, with this fortune encompassing land, financial investments, artworks, and assets managed by the Vatican and dioceses worldwide. Now, that's the entire Catholic Church globally. The Vatican specifically? Estimates put the Vatican's total wealth between $10 billion and $15 billion, though the exact value is difficult to ascertain, with assets including not only financial holdings, but also priceless art collections, properties, and historical artifacts. But some analysts put it higher. Estimates suggest the Catholic Church's net worth in 2025 to be approximately $50 to $100 billion, given its churches, museums, priceless art and artifacts, educational institutions, parishioner donations, the Vatican Bank, and more. The reason for the wildly different numbers is that transparency isn't exactly the Vatican's strong suit. Unlike public companies required to file detailed financial statements, the Vatican operates in financial shadows, releasing just enough information to avoid complete scrutiny. Vatican Bank. The Vatican Bank, officially called the Institute for the Works of Religion, manages approximately $5.4 billion in assets. By banking standards, that's actually modest. JP Morgan Chase, for comparison, controls around $3.5 trillion. But that's not the point. The point is that this institution exists to do something most regular banks don't. It invests God's money like a hedge fund. This practice started in the 1930s when Pope Pius XI hired a Venetian financier named Bernardino Nogara. Nogara was a genius at one thing: making money work. He took Vatican funds and diversified them into stocks, bonds, real estate, and financial instruments across Europe. He wasn't investing in churches or charities, he was investing in profits. The strategy worked so well that the Vatican became one of Europe's biggest financial players. The office that manages Vatican investments in real estate reported a profit of €32.8 million in 2024, up 7% from 2023. That's not donations, that's profit. Pure financial gain. The Vatican holds big stock holdings. Italian stocks alone were valued at $1.6 billion at one point, representing 15% of the value of listed shares on the Italian Stock Exchange. London disaster. Now we get to the part where things get really interesting, because having money is one thing, losing $200 million of it? In 2012, the Vatican's Secretariat of State, the Pope's administration office, invested heavily into a London property. Not a small investment, not a modest portfolio addition. The Vatican went on trial in a London court as a British financier sought to recover damages, with the investment in a London property valued at approximately €350 million, around $375 million. The property was actually the former Harrods warehouse on a luxury street, which the Vatican eventually sold for £186 million, $223 million. That means the Vatican invested approximately $375 million and sold the property for $223 million. Do the math. A ruling by the High Court of England and Wales published February 21st confirmed that the Vatican Secretariat of State was deceived by Italian financier Raffaele Mincione. Raffaele Mincione, that's the name, He's an Italian financier who somehow managed to manipulate the Vatican's investment decisions and personally profit from the arrangement. The Vatican claims they were defrauded. The financier claims the Vatican didn't understand the risks. Meanwhile, 10 people are on trial in the Vatican facing multiple charges regarding the Vatican Secretariat of State's investment in the London property, with the Vatican losing more than $200 million on the deal. And get this, the civil process in London marks what is believed to be the first time the Vatican has stood trial in a foreign government. Secretariat of State. To understand how this London disaster happened, you need to understand the Vatican's power structure. The Secretariat of State isn't some transparent bureaucracy. It's the Pope's administrative office, and it controls both the day-to-day operations and, critically, the Vatican's financial assets. For decades, this office operated with minimal oversight. It didn't have accountability structures. It had trust. And trust, as it turned out, was desperately naive. The London property investment happened under this system. A financier approached the Vatican with an opportunity. The Secretariat of State saw a chance to generate revenue. Nobody did proper due diligence. Nobody asked the hard questions. Nobody protected the money that belonged to millions of Catholics worldwide. The scandal forced Pope Francis to completely restructure how Vatican finances are handled. Last year in 2024, he reorganized the entire system, removing the Secretariat of State's control over financial assets and real estate. A new office took over. New oversight structures were supposedly implemented. But there's a problem. Reorganizing the bureaucracy doesn't explain where all the money goes. It doesn't make the Vatican Bank transparent. It doesn't tell donors how their contributions are being used. Global real estate. Beyond the London disaster, the Vatican owns real estate across the globe. Luxury apartments in Rome, properties in Paris, holdings throughout Europe, museums that generate millions in entrance fees annually. The Vatican-affiliated properties and investments span multiple countries, creating a global footprint that most people don't even realize exists. When you visit the Sistine Chapel, you're paying for tickets to a Vatican-owned property. When you tour Vatican museums, your entrance fee goes into Vatican coffers. When pilgrims stay in Vatican-approved hotels, money flows back to the organization. This is actually smart business. Tourism at Vatican properties generates substantial revenue. But it's revenue that an organization built on principles of poverty and simplicity somehow accumulated to create this massive financial apparatus. The real estate holdings alone, if you could actually calculate their true value, would dwarf the financial assets. Art and artifacts. One of the most fascinating aspects of Vatican wealth is something that can't easily be converted to cash: art. The Vatican houses some of the world's most valuable artistic works. The Sistine Chapel ceiling, works by Michelangelo, Raphael, Bernini, and countless other Renaissance masters. Museums around the world would kill for collections like this. The Louvre would restructure its entire organization to acquire what the Vatican casually maintains. These aren't investments in the traditional sense. They can't be sold without causing a global outcry. But, they represent tangible wealth in the billions. The Sistine Chapel alone is essentially priceless. You can't put a number on it. Art historians, insurance companies, and museum directors have attempted valuations over the years, but they're all basically guesses. The point is that the Vatican owns assets so culturally significant that they exist in a different economic category entirely. Pope Francis. When Pope Francis became Pope in 2013, he inherited an institution in financial chaos. The Vatican Bank had spent decades operating without real oversight. The London property disaster was unfolding. Cardinals were spending money without accountability. Financial mismanagement was endemic. Francis made financial transparency one of his key initiatives. He appointed auditors. He demanded reports. He tried to create structures to prevent future disasters like the London property fiasco. But as we all know, structural reforms only work if the organization actually wants transparency. The Vatican has 2,000 years of history hiding things from the public. You don't dismantle that overnight with reorganizations and oversight committees. Stock portfolio. Something most Catholics don't realize is that the Vatican is a big shareholder in major corporations. Through the Vatican Bank and various investment vehicles, the Church holds stock in pharmaceutical companies, defense contractors, energy firms, and technological companies. The Vatican's portfolio reflects capitalist priorities that would seem to contradict Catholic social teaching about caring for the poor and protecting vulnerable populations. But there's no contradiction from the Vatican's perspective. They're investing to generate returns. That's the entire point of the financial apparatus. Donations, the collection plate, the donation boxes, the pledges from parishes worldwide. The Archdiocese of New York alone generates approximately $2 billion annually in donations and grants. That's just one city. Multiply that across thousands of dioceses worldwide, and you're looking at tens of billions flowing through the Catholic Church annually. Where does it go? Some goes to social services and charitable work. Some goes to maintaining churches and religious facilities. Some goes to salaries for priests and administrative staff. But a huge portion flows to Rome, where it feeds the Vatican's financial machine. The Vatican doesn't publicly disclose which companies it invests in. We know the approximate portfolio value, but not the specific holdings. This opacity actually prevents public scrutiny of Vatican investment priorities. Future. Ironically, the Vatican is simultaneously a spiritual institution and a financial corporation. It can't be both at scale while maintaining moral consistency. So, will the Vatican actually become transparent? The answer is no. Institutions that have operated in secrecy for centuries don't suddenly become open just because a pope decides transparency is a good idea. The Vatican has too much invested in opacity, literally and figuratively. We know religious institutions need resources to operate. The issue is that the Vatican has created a financial system so complex and opaque that nobody, not even many Vatican officials, fully understands it. So what's really happening? The people funding this system, millions of everyday Catholics making donations they can't afford, have zero say in how their money is used. What do you think? Drop your thoughts below, and if you want to see more of the world's richest icons and luxury stories, subscribe right now, because this is where the legends live forever.